Hello everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about the MCU and the future adaptation of the X-Men, and whether it's something that still generates a lot of hype and excitement, or whether it raises far more issues of cause and concern. Now there might be spoilers throughout this video for all content within the MCU regarding movies and series, so just beware, and you can check out my coverage of all content within Phase 4, and I'll leave some links within the description. So we all know the X-Men, and overall I'd still rank them as the second most prolific Marvel property after Spider-Man. The story of the individuals with certain abilities facing social issues and antagonism has been a mainstay of comic book culture ever since their creation way back in 1963. Rising to prominence throughout the 1970s through writer Chris Claremont, and reaching peak popularity in the early 1990s with superstar artist Jim Lee, the X-Men property started making mainstream impact through various video games, and most significantly with the iconic 1992 animated series, which still stands today as the best overall screen adaptation of the characters. And you can check out my review of that series within the channel, and I'll also leave a link within the description. Now in terms of live action, we finally got the big budget movie adaptation with the Fox movies, first trilogy especially, in 2000 with the first movie, X-Men 2 X-Men United in 2003, and X-Men The Last Stand in 2006. We would see this universe branch out even further with the two standalone Wolverine movies, X-Men Origins Wolverine and also The Wolverine in 2013, and then later on with X-Men First Class in 2011, Days of Future Past in 2014, X-Men Apocalypse in 2016, and X-Men Dark Phoenix in 2019. Now all of these movies had varying degrees of box office success, and whilst popular, many felt that those movies didn't really fully showcase the characters as true as what they were in terms of the source material. The Dark Phoenix in particular got very scathing criticism, and it was, if we look at it, really the second butchering of the iconic Dark Phoenix storyline. So as far as the Marvel Cinematic Universe is concerned, when it emerged in 2008, it really transformed the whole face of entertainment by indeed reflecting closer to the source material with its overall characters. Many speculated, when we saw the prominence of this universe, as to what if the X-Men could somehow return to Marvel. If that situation ever came to pass, could we see a far more accurate live action adaptation, and eventually see the X-Men mixing it with the Avengers as per the comics in major crossover events? Now that speculation turned into major excitement when Disney acquired 21st Century Fox, retaining the rights of the X-Men characters to Marvel Studios. We all got excited as fans at the endless possibilities that we could finally see the X-Men done justice in live action, the huge mythology that could really be tapped into with the infinite resources at both Marvel and Disney. And it all seemed a long awaited dream finally coming true. Now whilst I would say at the time of the Fox movies, audiences weren't quite ready to see a much more accurate reflection of the comic book heroes in terms of the source material, of course now the MCU fully changed that perception, so the prospect of an MCU X-Men really convinced fans that we would finally see true justice done to the characters in terms of live action. But since that announcement, has that excitement turned into far more of a cause for concern or even disdain? Now I'm going to say at this stage, I'm much more concerned rather than excited about the prospect of the X-Men in the MCU, and from what I can see so far from many reactions, people have also reached that conclusion, and perhaps many have even gone further in terms of feeling very despondent or very negative in terms of that overall prospect. Now there are multiple reasons for this, but for me personally, I think there are increasing signs that we're not going to get the movie adaptation that I think fans truly deserve. It seems Marvel are far more determined to display something as far away as removed from the actual source material. Now certainly in the last couple of years there have been many signs pointing to far more cause for concern. We go all the way back when current Marvel visual effects producer Victoria Alonso gave an interview way back in 2019, stated that the X-Men title was too outdated and that the men in the title should be taken out and it should be far more inclusive and representative, and maybe it should be called X-People instead. We've then had multiple speculation and articles and rumours that there are intentions to race change the characters of Professor X and Magneto, two of the universe's most integral characters. There have been other rumours that Magneto's origin involving the Holocaust would be changed because it was deemed too dated, which is absolute nonsense. That origin story is the most compelling aspect of his character, and if you remove that, you very much destroy his overall legacy and status within the universe. We then go on to more recent events where we saw the likely introduction of mutants within the MCU in terms of Phase 4. In particular here we're talking about the Ms. Marvel series and its finale episode, which confirmed Kamala Khan having mutated DNA and very much introducing for the first time the concept of mutants within the MCU. Now normally this wouldn't be an issue, as there are lots of mutants who existed within the X-Men universe who have no ties to the team and very much exist with their own agendas and motivations. So confirming certain individuals with mutated DNA for me isn't a problem. But then during this scene they had to play the iconic X-Men animated theme, and by doing that you are tying Ms. Marvel to the X-Men, which is a false perception. Now many may say that this was just some sort of glib fan service, but again, you are leading fans down a certain path, and it does beg the question, why drop the suggestion in the first place if you didn't have intentions of linking Kamala somehow to the X-Men? Is there going to be a certain situation where we see the likes of Kamala Khan eventually joining the mutants and replacing other iconic characters? We then look at the further speculation that the first entry may not even be called the X-Men, but it may indeed be called the Mutants. Now I have no idea why this would be the case. Some people may claim it's a licensing or rights issue, but I don't see how that can be if Marvel have indeed acquired the rights to the overall characters. Why can't they just call it the X-Men as what every fan expects it to be? Now again, if this entry or any other installment within the MCU focuses on other characters rather than the X-Men, then no problem. But if we're saying that this is true and that we can't use the X-Men title because it's not inclusive or diverse enough, then that proves to be very problematic. And also, what's the point of it all? The whole point of our excitement for this is that we want to see the X-Men in their true form. But if we can't call them by their actual title, then it's not the characters in their true form, therefore it's going to lessen a lot of the excitement amongst fans. What's the point of acquiring the rights to a property if you're not going to utilise it fully in the right way? And throughout the criticism of Marvel's Phase 4, many have stated that this is one of the biggest problems, that forced diversity and representation has overtaken a faithfulness to the overall source material. And when you look at the X-Men, you would say this is rather unnecessary, because the whole point of the X-Men is that it is very much about social integration, diversity and representation. All of that topical subject matter is already ingrained within the source material. You have characters from all different types of races and ethnicities, all with their own particular personal struggles and issues. So there's no need at all to change anything about the characters if you want to try and force some sort of virtual signalling or messaging about social issues. It's already all there within the source material. So the solution seems simple, to just showcase these characters as they are. For me personally, the most iconic use is the 90s era, but by staying close to the source material, you are also simultaneously ticking off all of those diversity quotas. So really you appease both the hardcore comic book fans and also more the social activists on social media. The whole initiative seems really simple for Kevin Feige, just showcase these characters as they are and obviously still make good storylines and movies, and then just sit back and then watch the billions rolling in. And I've previously stated that really at this stage, the only way that the MCU could possibly get back to Avengers Endgame hype levels is if indeed they successfully adapt the X-Men, and then we do indeed get that X-Men and Avengers crossover, whether it'll be battling Dark Phoenix or Onslaught or Apocalypse. That's the only other run of events that I see that Avengers could potentially gross the same $2.8 billion as Endgame or even more. And not only just in terms of crossing over with the Avengers, the X-Men mythology, as I stated before, is so rich and detailed and textured that it really could become its own cinematic universe. And I think this would be a huge benefit to the MCU if they manage to get the X-Men right, if indeed they want to progress beyond Phase 6, Phase 7 and beyond. But as ever, as what we see with entertainment, for every content creator who's truly dedicated to the source material, there's also that other individual who has far more of a corporate and marketing mindset and wants to make changes just for the sake of change, or is far more looking at what's trending on social media rather than staying faithful and true to these overall characters. And unfortunately, it's that latter person who always has the most influence in terms of greenlighting these movies. And that's my biggest fear in terms of the X-Men integrating to the MCU, that somebody higher up who isn't as invested within these characters, that is far more concerned about virtual messaging and forcing agenda, is going to have too much impact and influence even over Kevin Feige. and eventually we will end up seeing X-Men within the MCU that looks very little like what we see within the source material, and the characterization also differs very much as what we're used to in terms of the truly iconic representation of the characters. But not to sound too negative, as we're still very much years away overall in terms of seeing the X-Men. Me personally, I don't think we'll see anything in terms of the actual team until phase 7, after of course we go through the multiverse saga and we see the 2 Avengers movies, Avengers Kang Dynasty and especially Avengers The Secret Wars, where I do believe there'll be some sort of changing of the guard in terms of the overall universe, and then after that event is when we will probably see the full integration of the X-Men. So we will wait and see overall. There will be of course little Easter eggs here and there throughout phases 4, 5 and 6 and overall references, but I just hope they build it properly and get it right, as I do believe that the MCU X-Men could be truly something special, perhaps even coming close to the impact that was made certainly through phases 1 to 3 of the MCU. But at this stage I would say I'm far more concerned and worried rather than hyped and excited at the prospect of the X-Men being integrated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings on the X-Men within the MCU, and whether we will see them fully adapted in the right way and truly done justice on the big screen. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you still excited for the X-Men coming into the MCU, or after recent events, certainly within phase 4, with all the rumours and speculations and interviews and quotes, are you far more concerned? Are you not even bothered now? Do you truly believe that it's going to be a bust, and do you think still that the X-Men is coming to an end, or are you still very much invested in the franchise and you still feel that the X-Men will be done in the right way? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you want to see me have further debates on this, then also drop me a suggestion and we can provide further commentary. And of course, as we get any further updates or reveals or articles regarding the X-Men within the MCU, I will of course provide further coverage within this channel. Please also hit and like those subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay safe distances, and I will see you very soon.